The MSNBC freakout continues as reports of Joe Biden slipping behind closed doors gain traction. Who in their right mind still believe that Joe Biden has his own faculties? Who believes that he's this energetic old man that can still run a country? I mean, either you have your blinders on, your head in the sand, or you're lying to yourself or lying to everyone else, because we all see it. But the mainstream media and MSNBC specifically are saying, who y'all gonna believe? Me or your lying ass eyes? I'm gonna go with my eyes. But we're gonna talk a little bit about that. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button. Share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. And hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. Has a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. All right. So let's talk about this news here. Now, this comes from Sister Toja from the Red State, and she reports that the Biden White House and his defenders on the left and in the in the MSM have been fond of saying in recent months that though Joe Biden frequently bumbles, mumbles, and just in general sounds wildly incoherent and out of it during public speaking engagements, he is razor sharp behind the scenes. So don't believe what you're seeing on TV and stuff, what you actually see. Behind the scenes, he's doing great work. He's really energetic behind the scenes. So why we can't see that? Why the public don't see that? The article goes on to say, we saw a lot of this type of rallying around the president from the usual suspects in February in the aftermath of the very damning Hur report, where special counsel Robert Hur observed that, quote, Mr. Biden would likely present himself to a jury, as he did during our interview of him, as a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. For instance, impeached DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, he was just recently impeached, said in an NBC News interview a short time after the report was released that, quote, the most difficult part about a meeting with President Biden is preparing for it, because he is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused. No one believes you. It is gaslighting on steroids then. And it is now as well amid the pushback on a Wall Street Journal story from last Tuesday that detailed how Biden was, quote, slipping even more when the cameras weren't rolling. And here's the article here from Wall Street Journal. They posted it on X. Participants in private meetings with 81-year-old President Biden say he has shown signs of slipping. The White House says he's sharp and his critics are playing partisan politics. But they don't mention that the critics are Democrats. Some of the critics are Democrats. It's not all Republicans saying this. These are people that work with him behind closed doors. Among the Wall Street Journal report's most vocal critics have been the Biden apologists at MSDNC, including the cast of characters that comprises of the Morning Joe show, which threw a hissy fit in the immediate aftermath. Co-host Joe Scarborough event went so far as to laughably proclaim, quote, if you want to talk about international affairs, if you want to talk about how to get bipartisan legislation, Joe Biden is light years ahead of all of them. Come on, man. Why these people aren't being honest? Not to be outdone, a week later, as the crew was still trying to downplay the story as it continued to gain traction, co-host Willie Geist also declared that the report was, quote, filled with problems, and that he has others at the network, and that he and others at the network had, quote, dissembled its claim. Dissembled its claim. The tale was at the end of the segment where Politico's Jonathan Lemire whined about how, quote, more and more people were getting their news from non-traditional sources. They hate that. You know, the ones that aren't wholly subservient to Democrats, while bemoaning the fact that the Wall Street Journal story, with all its flaws, got through to people. They hate it. They hate that we don't have to listen to them, that we have alternative news sources, and we can go research these things for ourselves. They can't stand it. But then when we do the research, when we see it with our own eyes, when we hear it with our own ears, how Biden is just stumbling around the place, they're gonna say, well, none of it is true. I mean, come on. These people are so dishonest. But let's check out this clip here from MSNBC.
What is a little unusual here, Jonathan Lemire, is the narrative being pushed so specifically about a piece from another, well, not from Sinclair, but from a Murdoch-owned entity in the Wall Street Journal about Joe Biden, pushing the story that, as we have sort of dissembled over the last couple of weeks, is filled with problems.
Yeah, and Sinclair has become a rising force in media over the last couple of presidential cycles. As you say, a couple hundred stations there. Polls suggest that Americans trust local news more than national news. So this probably has an impact. And we saw a little bit of this in 2020. The Biden campaign tried to flag moments like this. They're certainly doing it again now, amplifying the good work here done by the reporters who identified this trend. And it's something that also just points to on the right, beyond Sinclair, it includes Fox News and other Murdoch organizations, and even those further to the right. They're much more so marching in lockstep and sort of touting the party line and agreeing on certain talking points, much more so than other what we call more mainstream media or even some of the more liberal media organizations that are out there. And it is something that in a moment where such a fractured media ecosystem does make a difference. And both campaigns are having challenges with this, that just, with fewer eyeballs on what we'd consider traditional media, more and more people getting their media in other sources, including their phones, it's just hard to break through. But it does seem like that Wall Street Journal reporting, with all of its flaws, is one of those stories that did.
Well, wow. They hate that people are paying attention. They hate it. Got that? This isn't really about any alleged flaws in the Wall Street Journal report. This is really about the fact that news outlets like MSNBC and Politico don't have the stranglehold on setting narratives in terms of what stories people see anymore and how those stories typically get framed. This is why they are so for censorship. They don't want us to be able to look at alternative sources and get news from different avenues and get different perspectives, because they have no control over the propaganda that they push out. Because when they push out the propaganda, we can say, well, we got this story here that says this is not true, and they hate that. They hate that, because if they did, there's a strong likelihood Joe Biden would be in much better shape when it comes to polling and public perception, because the only stories voters would hear about as it relates to Biden and Democrats are the ones their media allies would spoon feed to readers and viewers. I don't care how many flaws that report supposedly had, even if it does, it doesn't negate what we see with our own eyes every day about Joe Biden. Exhibit A. So let's check. This is from the Washington Free Beacon. They posted this. This is back in September, way back. This is 2 years ago. He's even worse now, but this is almost 2 years ago. Let's check this out.
Representative Jackie, are you here? Where's Jackie? I didn't think she was going to be here to help make this a reality.
That's why she's not there. She died. Remember that clip? She had died, and he asked where she was. I mean, how did he not know that? How did he not know that she died? I mean, it's just, there's much more from where that came from. But for now, I rest my case. Tons different more. Y'all know I covered it all. We all know, again, Biden is not well. He does not have his faculties. He's a feeble old man running the most powerful country in the world, and Democrats continue to back him and want him to be president. Want him to be president again. It's elder abuse is what it really is. But let me know what y'all think about this. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, and check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.